a couple comments about employees on the side or employees to help you out when you're in a jam. A lot of times chiropractors don't think about what's going to happen if an employee leaves them or they get sick or they're out for an extended period of time, or even if there's vacation time coming up. So a couple of things you want to consider to always have a backlog. When you interview people, always keep, whoever you interview, always keep potential people you would consider hiring in the file that you don't offer the job. Always keep those around, number one. Number two, always be interviewing. I told my staff, I said, if anybody comes into this office and they want to drop off a resume, they are required to stop and get me and bring me to the front so I can meet them. Now, I'm not going to do an interview with them. I'm just going to do a once over. I just want to look at them. I'm going to shake their hand. I'm going to see what their personal hygiene looks like. I'm going to see if they can look me in the eyes when they talk to me. I'm going to see if they have a wet noodle handshake. I'm going to give a quick assessment of that person. Now, a couple things happen when you do that. Your staff pays a hell of a lot of attention when they know everybody coming in you're going to interview, even though you're not hiring. That keeps them on their toes. So you're always interviewing. You may not be hiring, but you're always interviewing. Remember that. So that's a rule when somebody comes in, because you don't know it. You'll have people come in and drop off a resume and ask if you're hiring. Well, if you haven't trained your staff, guess what they'll say? Well, no, he's not hiring. Well, they get complacent, and then you may have missed a good opportunity. So you make sure you let your staff know every time somebody comes in and asks if we're hiring that, yes, you're willing to accept their application. And if they're physically there, you want to introduce them to you real quick. And so they should say to the person, say, wait just a second, I'm going to have the doctor meet you real quick. And then they're supposed to come back and get you and let you know, hey, somebody's dropping off the resume. I just stop what I'm doing. It only takes 3 minutes. I walk out to the front, I introduce myself, say, hey, I see you're looking for a job. I'll just glance at the resume. I'm not going to do an interview on the spot there. I'm just doing a once over. Do they stink? Do they look dirty? Okay. And then I'll just mark on the corner of the resume, okay, meaning you can go to the next step. But, they stink. They don't have good personal hygiene. I'm going to take the resume and I'm going to put an X in the corner and put it off to the side and throw it away. But everybody is always, same when you go out, always be paying attention to people who give you good service. Go, man, she's good. Well, that's a potential employee is what that is. You may want to steal her down the road. And then what you want to also do is check with your patients. Now I'm talking about secondary, not major, for a major job. I'm talking about somebody that can come in and help out part-time or when you're in a jam. So check with your patients. Sometimes your retired patients, your good retired patients, you get along with well, they can walk and talk and chew gum and all that. Ask them. Say, hey, if we're in a jam, would you mind coming in and answering the phone and help processing patients for, 1 or a few days? Have somebody you can go to. Don't be stuck. And then also, like a high school or college student, we'll use those for part-time. Now, you cannot build a business for part-time. So you can't have a part-time person at the front or at the back as anchors. You cannot do that. You will not grow a business that way. I had one guy, he had 3 part-time employees, and he expected to grow his business. Why did he do that? Benefits, costs. That was just stupid is what it was. You can't grow a business with part-time people. So, but you can have part-time people help during the main hours. So like typically Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the afternoon, instead of hiring another full-time person, the first thing we're going to do is go to a high school kid. Can they come in after high school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from 3 to 6 or whatever, and help out just help moving patients. We just help them move patients. We teach them how to answer the phone, schedule appointments, how to move patients, get them on therapy, get them off therapy. In other words, it's an extra hand in office to help move patients during industrial hours. That helps a lot. So you want something like that. And then also, if you're short on an employee, you need somebody quick, call the local labor office. And I say sometimes even consider them as a potential hire because they've already been through the screening. They've already had the tests. So use that as a potential hire also. But you're going to want somebody that you can call. And a lot of times what happens is people will work at these agencies part-time because they don't want to work full-time because they're raising families. So what I did is I got the same, I brought somebody over, like my staff wanted the same time off. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. So it was a little inconvenient, but I wanted to be good to my staff. And actually, it was the Friday after Thanksgiving. That's when everybody wants off. And I'm like, I'm not going to force my staff to. So yeah, I'll be good to my staff. I'll let them off. And I'm just going to get an agency person to come over. And that was the situation with her. It was a good person. She just worked there part-time because she wanted to raise her kid. And then she was the one that I brought over. I said, hey, from now on, you know, I like how you worked here. I said, from now on, if, you know, somebody takes a vacation or gets sick or something, you know, can we call you? She said, sure. So that was the person I always went to. If somebody, you know, took a vacation, boom, I called her, brought her in. It was the same person, see? So I'm talking about non-anchor people right now. So I'm talking about backups. But you always want these things going on. It's never ending. You know, your practice is like life. It's dynamic. You're gonna have people move. You're gonna have staff members move. They're gonna get sick. They're gonna die. They're gonna get divorced. Things are, you know, it's dynamic. So you always want to be paying attention to good people. And I always found jobs for good people. If I found a good person, I created a job for that person. Because good people are hard to find. And when you find a good person and you can create a job for them, they do real well with that job. So I remember that happened one time. We had a staff member, we brought somebody on. We had to move her, but I didn't have a position yet, but I did not want to let her go. She was a great employee. So I just created a part-time job for her just to hold her until I grew a little more to, you know, put her in this, and I actually moved her to be my assistant, my personal assistant, because I was so busy. So she was like my right-hand person with opening offices and with me. So just be aware of that. You can't just think, you know, we'll hire somebody and we don't have to worry about it again. And then you got nothing in the backup. You've got nothing, you know, nothing available to help you out. Chiropractors get in a jam all the time. Then the person quits on them and, you know, they don't know what to do. And now they're in a real mess. So pay attention to those things. Check with some of your patients, see if they're good, if they would be willing to help out part-time. Check with if you have a patient or something, kid that's in college or something that needs to wants to work part-time to help you during industrial hours if you need it. Or back up if they can come in and back up if somebody takes off vacation or gets sick or something like that. Check with your local administrative person. All these are backups. You should have them. You should have them all in line. Something happened. In other words, when something happens, you shouldn't be worried. You know what to go to. You have a go-to. You got a plan B. And unfortunately, most chiropractors don't. And then again, anytime you're out and around in that community, whether you're eating lunch or banking or whatever, pay attention to the people that give you excellent service. Those are some potential people you're going to want to go steal and hire away. And I've done that a few times. But you don't want to get in a jam. And it's very easy to get in a jam if you got one employee and they get sick or they got to take time off. You're in a jam, just like that. Your whole office comes to a crashing halt. And then two employees, and you know, that gets to be a mess. You got two, one in front, one in the back, and now the back one calls in sick or whatever, or they got to take off vacation, and And you're seeing 150, 200 visits a week by yourself, you got a mess on your hands now. You talk about a stressful day. So have these systems ready. Think of who you can call or make these agreements. Talk to them. And then you want consistency. Is there somebody you can come in just regularly, periodically, if it's needed? And it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier. And then I don't worry about when staff wants to take vacation. That's not best for the office. I'm like, no, I'm going to let them do it because I'm going to help my staff out. And I'll bring in my role players. But sometimes you have to go through, the difficulties to find out. I'll tell you the worst thing, and then I'll leave it at this. It's too many times the doctor will have one staff member at the front do all the insurance billing, and the doctor doesn't pay any attention to the insurance billing, doesn't keep stats, doesn't look at accounts receivable, doesn't look at the billing, just nothing. Just totally trust that person. And I can't tell you how many times this has happened. And then the person quits. And nobody else is trained. You talk about a mess. The doctor doesn't even know where to turn. He doesn't even know what flip to switch. That's happened several times with clients. They're calling me and it's an emergency. I'm like, what happened? You didn't have any backups? No. You weren't cross-trained? No. Well, you got a mess on your hands right now. So can't tell you how many times that's happened. Don't let that happen. Cross-train everybody.